Out of the gate, JT, we are live from the Shriners Children's Open, the golf tournament live at TPC Summerlin, as I have my golf voice today, as we're not too far from the 18th green and we're not too far from the first tee box. So you're not going to have loud JT today. You're going to have golf JT here today because we're in a unique spot here. You get a chance to watch us as we're on a YouTube stream at JT the Brick YT, and we're syndicated all over that Raiders mobile app. And we're here for the kids. We're here for the kids at the Shriners Children Open. We'll have two guests on a little bit later on, two patients and ambassadors who went through the Shriners process where we raise a lot of money. Everybody who's involved with Shriners over the decades and decades know how amazing this cause is. So I'm excited to be here today. It's always a pleasure to be outside in an amazing environment here. We're in this unbelievable setup on the hill. So as I look to my left, the 18th green is their 18th fairway, and right behind me is the one tee box. So everybody who's coming in through here, Tom Kim won this tournament the last 2 years. And Tom Kim is a hell of a golfer here, as you know, from the President's Cup and his wins on the PGA Tour. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a lot of guests. A lot of people are going to jump in and out. And I want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. Let's hear from Raider fans. And that's the focus of the monologue that's brought to you by PT's. As a matter of fact, PT's has a beer truck out here. And it's not Friday, but I'm going to have a PT's ice cold draft. I'm sure they have my Modelo on tap. So we're going to do that coming up here in a little bit. But I'm done at 2 o'clock. I'm going to walk the golf course with my son. We're going to watch a couple of guys golf. And then my Yankees are on at 2:08, Mateo. My Yankees are on at 2:08, which is good news and bad news. I like the Yankees to be on a little bit later in the day, but this day baseball has been fantastic as we get a chance to talk about baseball in October. Mark McMillan, Grillin McMillan is here too. Excited that he's out here as we're ready to kick off our show today. So a lot to get to as we open up the show. And here's what I want to do today for Raider Nation. I think today, even though I'm talking really low at a golf tournament, today's a day for me to vent. And today's a day that I'm really upset for Raider fans for what you had to put up with this week with Devonte Adams leaving, as Devonte Adams is now running like a gazelle for the Jets. Came out on the field today running like a gazelle as Devonte Adams sat out the last 2 weeks with a hamstring injury that I'm not going to debate that he had. You know, he has a hamstring injury. Cliff Branch had him and he played through him. Let me repeat, Cliff Branch had hamstring injuries and played through them, limping and catching balls. But that was a different era than the era that we're in now. So by no means am I going to suggest that Devonte didn't have a hamstring injury, but it's pretty amazing how he looked today. Pretty amazing how happy he is in an area of the country that I couldn't run away fast enough and move out of when I was a kid because of the rain, the sleet, the snow. Miss my family tremendously, but I wasn't going to live the rest of my life in the tri-state area of New York and especially in New Jersey. And Devonte, who lived right across the street, up the road from this golf tournament where I'm at today, Devonte couldn't get out of here fast enough. So there's been a lot of just bad media coverage of this story, just bad. I think we've done a good job on the flagship. I mean, what do you want us to tell you? That he wasn't on the trade block? You knew he was on the trade block. What do you want us to let you know? That he wasn't a great player? He was a great player. Everything that you could say about Devonte, we were able to cover, talking about the life of in here, as we've been able to get in here, and I hope the sound is good now here as we open it up on our YouTube channel here. I'm just looking overall at what happened here over the last couple of days, and I think it is very frustrating for all the Raider fans who have had to put up with this garbage of a player wanting to leave as a player committed and got a lot of money to come here. The Raiders, the former regime, gave up a number 1 and a number 2, a first and second round pick to get Devonte here. And then Devonte leaves. So I was serious and sincere when I said I wish Devonte well. I mean, I wish him well. I would always say that to anybody who leaves the Raiders, almost everybody who leaves the Raiders. I'd say I wish him well. But this one is really frustrating to me because I'm on the front lines of Raider Nation. I'm right in the bunker. I'm in the front bunker of Raider Nation, dealing with the fans who are mostly great, inside the organization, doing shows, hosting a couple of events and TV shows every week. And this week was tough until Tom Brady walked into the building yesterday. Let me just share my insight on that because that was pretty spectacular to see. It was pretty amazing to see what I saw yesterday as the entire organization met Tom Brady in the lobby, and Brady came in and he drove himself, which was pretty spectacular to see the guy. Now, he's not going to jump out of a limo, but normally you have a driver. The guy pulls up to the front of the building, gets out with a water bottle and walks in, and he comes on in and speaks for about 5 minutes, fires up the entire organization. Antonio Pierce grabbed the microphone. The players were in the lobby. The entire organization was in the lobby, and it was pretty special to see. And then Tom Brady, I had to jump on the air. I had to actually, the second he grabbed the microphone, probably about 2 minutes into it, we had to get ready to do the radio show, which they turned into a TV show called Raiders Rundown. And then when I was done after my first break, I walked outside the studio and Tom Brady was shaking hands with every single person, from the janitorial staff to sales to people from the Raider image. They were lined up and Tom Brady was meeting everybody. So again, there's going to be some rogue Raider fans who say that it was a fumble and how could we bring in a guy? Like I always tell them, you sound like an absolute jerk if you don't understand that Jim Plunkett played for the New England Patriots before the Raiders. If you don't get that aspect of it before McDaniels and Belichick and Brady, we can't help you. Just continue to walk right off the cliff if you don't understand that Jim Plunkett was a Patriot and he came to the Raiders and won 2 Super Bowls. If we can't help you with that, then you need help. So Jim Plunkett played for the Patriots. A guy by the name of Mike Haynes, one of the greatest Raiders of all time, played for the Patriots. So now we got Tom Brady, the greatest winner of all time. And I'm not here to speculate on what Tom Brady's going to do. But as I talked to a Hall of Famer on the ride to the golf tournament today, the Hall of Famer said getting Tom Brady's eyes on this organization is a good thing. Everyone okay with that now? Or am I going to have to deal with knuckleheads in my chat room that said Brady's a Patriot, get him out of the organization? Tom Brady is now a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. That doesn't mean he's a GM. He's not the coach. He's not the broadcaster. He's got a big $300 million job over at Fox. But he will be around the Raiders, and he will be a consultant as an owner to Mark Davis and Larry Delson and the entire organization. And hopefully they make great decisions with Tom Telesco, Antonio Pierce. They do what I always thought was really important, recruit. I mean, who's better than Tom Brady to recruit a player who's 28 years old that might want to come to the Raiders? I don't know anybody better than him. So with all of this happening here as we open up the show here, we just want to get your opinion on the 2 big topics of the week. Because, again, we're at a golf tournament. I can only speak so loudly. And our 2 big topics is how do you feel about Devonte leaving and going to the Jets? And how do you feel about Tom Brady entering the organization? And then maybe a bigger topic than all of that, we got to play the Rams. And I'll do a deep dive on the Rams. Kevin Bollinger will join us. Lee Sterling will pick some games with us. He's been on fire this year. Lee Sterling's been amazing. He's going to join us a little bit later on the show. And then we have a couple of the Shriner patients and ambassadors who are going to jump in along the way. So, again, thanks to Shriners, the Children's Hospital, for letting me be a part of this. And hopefully we hear from you at 702-365-9200 as we open up the show here. Some of the sound that I wanted to get to here as we open up the show is the sound of Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell spoke to the media yesterday, and I want to get to Aiden O'Connell as he talked about, first off, Devonte. Devonte left, and he was tight with Devonte. They definitely had a relationship going forward, and they had a relationship here. and Aiden O'Connell is the starting quarterback of this organization going forward. Here's what the quarterback said.
Yeah, it's been hard. Obviously, we love Tay and wish he was here, and an awesome player, great guy for us. It's meant a lot to me in my thus far, and so definitely.
Yeah, and everybody's going to say the company line. They're going to miss him because everybody who plays football is going to miss a player like Devonte Adams. Devonte is such a good player. If you don't have Devonte, you're not a better team, but you got other guys who are going to be able to step up. Also, Aiden O'Connell talked about he was in the building yesterday, and everybody got a chance to meet.
Yeah, obviously a great person to have in an NFL building, someone who's done it for so long at the highest level. And so you can learn a lot just in the things he says, even just his presence being around is awesome for us. And so, yeah, we're going to, I'm sure, lean on him, especially as quarterbacks it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Imagine Aiden O'Connell or any quarterback having the ability. And Tom Brady's going to be busy. He's broadcasting games for Fox, as you know. But for Brady, it's nice to have Aiden O'Connell, someone on speed dial, that you're the owner of the team now. It's official. Maybe you can tell him something. Maybe you can tell him something you saw with his footwork. I don't know. But it's just cool for Aiden O'Connell to acknowledge that. Now on to the game with Luke Getsy, who spoke earlier today before the start of the show. They got to get this offense going. They got to find a way to make the offense explosive again.
Yeah, I think for us, it's just about executing, moving the football. I think, we got behind the sticks a few times last week on early downs and put ourselves in some bad situations. So, we want big explosive plays, but we want to be able to move the ball, chip away and just stay in positive downs. I think, the call sheet gets tight when you back yourselves up in the bad three. Try to give Luke as many options as possible.
And one more for the quarterback. Brock Bowers is the hottest player in the league. He's the hottest rookie player in the entire league, other than Jaden Daniels, who's the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders. He's been fun to watch, and Aiden O'Connell now has a go-to receiver in the passing game.
He has a feel about him that we kind of talk about in the QB room, that it almost, like when you watch film from the sideline, you can see, everyone around you. It kind of looks like he can see from that view, and he just has, that feel and the different zones, the different places he needs to be. So it's pretty special. A few guys, you watch, feel like he's one of them. So it's really fun to watch.
All right. On another note, Luke Getsy spoke before I came on the air here. So my son dropped me off here at the golf tournament, and I was listening in the car. And you can tell right now that Luke Getsy is getting hammered by the fans. He is. He knows it. It's happened before to offensive coordinators in this building. You know that. The fans get really chippy on our offensive coordinators if the offense isn't clicking well. As I said yesterday, to credit Luke Getsy, everything's not going to be negative. To credit him, he's had an offensive line that's not doing well. That's the personnel he inherited. He's had a right tackle that's been injured, replaced by a rookie who seems to be doing well. No one wants to give Getsy credit for that. He has no Devonte Adams, who was just traded. Jacoby Myers is out with an ankle. He should play this week. And Michael Mayer hasn't been available. So for everybody who's going after the offensive coordinator, you're going to do what you're going to do. I get it. The only thing you could be critical of Luke Getsy is not the personnel, is the calls. And the calls have been pretty good the first 2 weeks in the first quarter. Raiders, that's a fact. The Raiders came out to a nice lead in Denver, and they had a lead against Pittsburgh. But you can make a fair criticism that there is something happening to this offense as it continues to shut down. It continues to shut down after the other head coach and defensive coordinator make adjustments. They make adjustments, and this Las Vegas Raider offense is just dead in the water. So that is something you can be very critical of. And Antonio Pierce owns it. He was on with me yesterday. Luke Getsy owned it today at the podium. And that's where we're at. So let me just tell you one quick thing here before we get out to the phone calls. I'll tell you this. This offense better get bleeping going this week. We're talking about, we are in week 7 now. And this offense pretty much has been, I don't want to use the term embarrassing, but this offense has been borderline below average. That can't happen. And the excuse would be, well, there's a lot of guys injured. I just mentioned that. That is an excuse. There's a lot of guys not available to play. So you're dealing with practice squad players and backups. I mean, how could anybody argue that point? You're dealing with backups and practice squad players. But now, as guys are getting healthy, it's time for the offense to wake the hell up. It's time for this offense to do things that are spectacular. It's time for this offense to do what JT the Brick in the third person always says. No huddle, play faster, get more plays in, and do what's right for this fan base. And don't take your time, and don't be methodical, and don't run it on second and long, and don't have penalties, and play with a little giddy up. Everybody get what I'm saying? Does everybody get what I'm saying? It's time to play with a little bit more speed, a sense of urgency, like jobs are on the line. Okay, like jobs are on the line. Everybody better be better now. You're playing a 1-4 Rams team. Let me repeat, a 1-4 Rams team that has just as many players out as the Raiders. How in God's name are the Rams a 6.5-point favorite with their injured reserve and our injured reserve? Oh, my son figured that. I'm giving a lot of credit to my 21-year-old who was born a Raider fan. Chris in West Oakland in a second. He was born a Raider fan. He was 3 years old in the parking lot in Oakland in the black hole tent at 3 years old. He said, Dad, they got better players. They got Matthew Stafford. I said, is that why? Jason, they're a 6.5-point favorite. They said, they got Matthew Stafford. He's just a better football player than anyone we have other than Max. So we got to get to Matthew Stafford. We got to get to Stafford. We got to put him down. He has great arm angles. The ball comes out everywhere. He's going to take some deep shots, and we got to put him down. That's the monologue brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka. I got Tito's right over there. You better believe at 2:01 I'm going to have myself a Tito's as I walk this golf tournament. Thanks to Tito's Handmade Vodka, based out of Austin, Texas, proud partner of our show. So we got opportunities for phone calls here before our guest. Let's start with Chris in West Oakland, who seems to be the only caller in all of Vegas at noon who's available to call my show with energy. I think you, Chris, I actually think you scare people away, and they don't want to call until you decide to call. So go ahead.
Well, I don't know if that's the case, but this is the only time I can call. I'm going to say this. Jason's pretty sharp kid, JT, real tough about the point spread. Maybe he's got a future working with Jeff Sherman down the road. Because as I said on Monday going forward, and I believe I said on the postgame show, the Raiders are not going to play another game the rest of the season where the other team doesn't have a better quarterback, unless maybe Tua is hurt when they play Miami. Not saying these games aren't winnable, but you're usually not going to be favored when the other team has a better quarterback. We'll get to that in a minute. Let me hit the two topics you wanted to talk about. First off, Devonte. Look, I'm like you. I wish him well. I wish it would have went different. You know, you trade a first and a second, and 2.5 years later, you get a third for him. I wish he would have handled it internally. Once you go public, a player goes public that he wants a trade, you immediately weaken the team you're with leverage. And I just, like I said, I don't know what the market would have bore out if that would have been the case. I just wish he would have handled it a little bit different. Look, it's time to move on. In the NFL, things change. I'm with you in one regard, Jay. Empowerment. I'm not always on the side of the owners, but I believe in contract. When you are under contract, I believe you owe it to the owner and your teammates in the franchise to show up and play. Am I going to question was he hurt? No. Curious funny, though, that he's not even on the injury report. He's expected to play this weekend. So, you know what? Thank you for what you gave us, Devonte. I'm not going to belabor the point. It's time to move on. Tom Brady. To any imbeciles out there that thinks this is not a good move for the Raiders, you should have your head examined. Stop making up fake rivalries. The Raiders never had a rivalry with the New England Patriots, ever. We got screwed on a snowy night 22 and a half years ago. Wasn't Brady's fault. We never met in a playoff game after that. He didn't play for the Chargers, for the Broncos, the Niners, the Chiefs. There is no rivalry. And frankly, anybody that can help the Raider decision-making at this point with the acumen of Tom Brady is a welcome addition to the franchise. I say welcome, Tom Brady. Please help this team get on track and figure out whatever the hell's wrong with it. Let's hit the game on Sunday. Look, I think it's deeper, JT, than just say the offense has got to get better. We've been in disagreement. I just don't think they're that good. Starting with the quarterback, they're not that good. I agree you want to play faster. I'm tired of the running in the ball in the middle at 2nd and 20. I don't know how much you want to put on Aiden O'Connell. They keep turning the ball over. The more you ask him to do, the more likely you're going to turn the ball over. The way the Raiders win the game Sunday is the way they win every week until you prove me wrong. Go out and score a touchdown on defense or at least give them a couple of short fields. Don't turn the ball over. Win the turnover battle until you prove you can go out and even score 20 points in a game. I'm not going to go out and say we can win 31-28. So don't turn the ball over. +2 in the turnover battle. Score a defensive or a special team touchdown, or at least set them up in the red zone on a very short field. That is the Raider key to victory. Enjoy your time on the golf course, my friend. Have a Modelo with your son, and I'll be home after practice watching, seeing if the cranky Yankees going today, or I think the Yankees are going to close these guys out pretty quick in baseball. Thank you, my friend. I'll talk to you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be out there. My son is now old enough to have a Modelo with me, but we'll see what happens today. I'm going to spend some time out here. We're in the high noon tent. We're in the high noon tent, man. There's more high noon marketing here than I've ever seen, no doubt about that. So we're here at the Shriners Children's Open, the golf tournament here. You can see some of it behind me if you're watching on our YouTube feed, the TV coverage. I'll move the camera around a little bit. I am looking right to my left at the 18th green, and this golf course is in absolutely beautiful shape. I want to get into the Dodger fans, too. A lot of Dodger fans who are listening on Raider Nation Radio. Mateo, who's engineering and producing for me out here today, Bobby back in the studio. What did the Dodgers do to the Mets last night? I'm a big believer that when you go and put on a winter jacket and a hoodie and you drive into Queens, New York to see your team play in a game and your team doesn't get a run, and your team gets smoked the way the Mets got smoked, is there anything worse than that in sports? Because when you take your children or you're with your grandparents and you go to a game that's going to change your life, it's going to be a memory for the rest of your life, and your team spits the bit and they don't even show up. I mean, we've all been there, right? We've all been there as a baseball fan or a football fan or a hockey fan. You go to a hockey game, it's a playoff game, and you get shut out 3-0, and you say, what was that? Well, what about the Mets last night? And Ohtani hit a home run into the upper deck, halfway through the upper deck. I want to hear this home run. It was one of the greatest home runs distance-wise I've seen in the postseason.
The Dodgers efforting insurance. They lead 4-0 here in Game 3. Shohei 16 for his last 19 with runners in scoring position. That's where Smith is on second. The pitch is hit high in the air, right field, hooking toward the pole, and this ball is fair and gone. Shohei Ohtani unloads a 3-run home run here in the top of the 8th inning. His second of the postseason makes it 3-0 LA.
LA call on the radio there. So the Dodgers are up, and they're only up 2-1. So it's not like the Dodgers have this massive lead. And the way the playoffs have been for the Mets, you know, the Mets are the cardiac kids. Maybe the Mets come back in this game and really have a good game and can tie this up at 2. Remember, it's a 2-3-2 format. So the Mets have to win 2 at home, but they have to win the next 2 to put a little pressure on the Dodgers. The Yankees will be in Cleveland in less than 2 hours to take on the Guardians. I think that's going to be a madhouse in Cleveland there. They hate the Yankees, dating back to before Bob Feller, going back to the 30s and 40s. The Indians, now the Guardians, have been getting their ass kicked by the Yankees. So they're going to be highly vocal in that place tonight. And we'll get you an update on the Golden Knights and UNLV football and everything that's happening here. The number is 702-365-9200. We're on everywhere. Everyone can hear us all over the world on the Raiders mobile app. I'm giving you a very simple topic today to talk about. How do you feel about Devonte Adams playing not on the injury report and healthy for the Jets? How do you feel about Devonte, who couldn't get on the field the last 2 weeks, playing Sunday night in a nationally televised game for the Jets? I don't want to do a ton of Devonte bashing, but I just want to know how Raider fans feel about this week, because for me, I've been on this roller coaster this week. I was really excited about Brady being in the building yesterday. I was excited with my interview with the head coach, Antonio Pierce, who didn't apologize, but he looked into the camera and told Raider Nation what he wants to do and what he wants to fix. And, you know, he's straight out of Compton. You know, he grew up in that area. If you don't think the Raiders are going to be emotionally prepared to play this game, then I don't know what game you think they're going to be emotionally prepared to play. They're playing in Antonio Pierce's backyard. Are there any Raider fans who hear my voice that have any hope that the Raiders can win this game as an underdog? They should be able to win this game. They're playing a 1-4 team, and they're going to have more fans than the home team. What more do you need for that? You got Max Crosby, and you got guys coming off the injury report. We're brought to you by the M Resort Spa and Casino, the official hotel of the Silver and Black. Head on out to the M and head on out to the Raiders Tavern and Grill. And as I'm double stacking our partners today, La Casa Cigars, where I'll be later on tonight for some live music. La Casa Cigars. Mike and Sandy have the best cigar outdoor lounge I've been to. And wait till you see what's coming next. Head on out to La Casa Cigars, over 500 cigar selections. And they carry everything that we have on this show, from Modelo to Tito's to Woodson Bourbon Whiskey to Remy Martin. Team up for success. Man, I am good here. I am dropping in the partners here. As we are live, when we come back, we got Lee Sterling coming up in 15 minutes, Kevin Bollinger from Fox 5, and Patrick Lindsay, the tournament director here at the Shriners. And we'll hear from you. Raider fans, it's a big week. I know you've been through a lot. I've been there with you for every step of the way. Let's see what can happen this week. The Rams on the road in Los Angeles, which is not a hub. It's the global center of the Raider Nation. Oh, he's at practice. He said he'll text me when he's ready. So we're gonna do a lot of stuff on the fly today. A lot of stuff on the fly. Yeah. Correct. Did they cut up anything for you yet from those interviews, Graham? Okay, can you please look? I always got to remember to unmute the mute button. Sometimes, I don't know, it moves around in my bag and it gets muted. Yeah, we're at a golf tournament here. Let me see if I can show you anything. There's the golf course out there. Yeah. It is a raw feed. As I told you, it is a raw feed. All right. Everyone get a look at this place. Pretty cool. And Mateo, will use that for the guest?
How many do you want? Are you going to have both at the same time?
I'm hoping I don't. If I do, we'll use both of
What I was
these.
going to say, if you want to do both at the same time,
Yeah.
I'll just get the mic check and we can use my headset.
Yeah, but I think we can use both of that because I'm going to be off this by then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be good. Yeah.
All right. Whatever you want to do, let me know. I mean, I'll adjust.
Hey, if that Canes thing shows up for a second, can you grab that quick? Here. It's going to be gone. It's gone. It's gone.
I'll check when it does it again. I'll keep an eye out.
Yep.
Probably look better too when you're live.
We got Ike's. He's a Bay Area sandwich king. Thank you. Yeah. You got Halloween coming up here in a couple weeks, right?
Club sandwich if you want some.
I might take you up on that, my friend.
Napkins Ranch, whatever.
Yeah.
After doing this 4 years, man, you start to be like, hey, at least we're not on the driving range this year, huh?
We're in a better spot, man. We're in a better spot. I mean, I'm living the dream, man. I get to do my radio show out on a golf course in a VIP tent, man. No one ever complained about being on the radio. No one ever bitch and moan about going to work talking sports. Got some people on the radio, they don't go to games. They don't even go to games. They don't go see the Dodgers, and they live in L.A., and their radio show's in L.A., and they don't even go to the Dodger game. I mean, come on. Who has it better than us?
Well, the only bad thing is
Yeah, we know that winning cures everything, man. We know that. Team's not winning now, so we still have to do radio shows and TV shows and get people to call in and get people engaged, even when they're losing. So we get it. Last year we were, a couple games away from the playoffs. A couple of years before we went to the playoffs. Raiders historically have been an outstanding football team. Last 20 years it's been rough. But look at Cincinnati, look at Detroit, look at the Chargers, look at these other teams. Raiders are going through a bit of a tough time now. They'll come out of it. Don't worry, sir. Anybody on hold?
The best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
He can throw the ball from anywhere, everywhere, every angle. Accurate, sees it, no look. We're doing this Patrick Mahomes twice a year. You got a good warm-up for Patrick. A couple weeks, he's going to go visit Matthew Stafford.
It's Antonio Pierce. Matthew Stafford's one hell of a quarterback. For a number of years, I didn't think he was because he played on such a bad team in Detroit. And I've been on the radio most of my career in Detroit. And Detroit's a great sports town, man. Detroit gets a bad rap. And Detroit reminds me a lot of Oakland. Oakland is a blue-collar sports town. And Oakland's going through a tough time now because teams are leaving. No one's leaving Detroit. And Detroit cleaned up their downtown. And Detroit has finally got some momentum going. They got brand new venues, really good. And now the Lions, now that Stafford is gone, they have Jared Goff, who's better than Matthew Stafford at the same time. Think of that. I mean, what an unbelievable decision that Sean McVay realized. And Jared Goff's a great player. He's an MVP candidate, period. Everyone would love to have Jared Goff as their quarterback. He got out of the Goff deal to get Stafford. Yeah, most quarterbacks would have collapsed under that and said, you don't think I'm good enough? I already took you to a Super Bowl. And no, they got rid of Goff to Detroit, and now Detroit has an unbelievably great franchise quarterback. And the Rams are pretty happy with Stafford because they won a Super Bowl, and he had a big part of that. So I don't think the Rams are going to win a Super Bowl again anytime soon. But Sean McVay's got that Super Bowl for one of the richest owners in sports, in Stan Kroenke. So he's pretty set. He's a very good coach. He's a wizard calling plays. And he is going to – this is what fascinates me about this game, everyone. It's Sean McVay versus Patrick Graham and Antonio Pierce. Do we all understand that? It's Sean McVay drawing up the plays and Patrick Graham and Antonio Pierce having a week in the building. Now, remember, also, the Rams are coming off their bye week. What does that mean? Well, they're getting rest, and they're getting guys back healthy, but most of the guys who are hurt for them are gone for a long period of time. But Cooper Kupp, expect him to play in this game. Pretty fascinating that we, the season ticket holders, trade Devonte this week, and Cooper Kupp is coming back. But that's the way the business side of football works. 702-365-9200. Lee Sterling is going to join us in about 10 minutes. He's going to give you 3 games for free. He's going to give you Alabama, Tennessee, Minnesota, Detroit. Ooh, and the Jets-Pittsburgh. The Jets-Pittsburgh game, he's going to give you that for free. So break out your notepad. That's coming up here in a little bit. Robert in Portland, always appreciate your calls. What's going on, Robert?
Yeah, JP, when you fight off, I'm always proud of him. But the most important thing to remember, a couple years ago, you loved Mayfield. I did too. He's a ringer, as they say. And I think about Goff and I think about Mayfield simultaneously. They're both very, very good quarterbacks. They're just different. Now, as far as Adams is concerned, I agree with you, but I also understand where JP is coming from. I think deep down, when he took business decision thing, it wasn't really, it was time maybe scoreless, but I think he definitely included Adams. I could be wrong, but I think there was something going on there. We'll never know. So your take now on him, I don't think you're going too far to be questioning Adams, especially the way he showed up at New York after that red-eye flight. I think we all need to move on, though, rather than thinking about what he did to us. But remember, Carr went bye-bye, and that did lead to Adams changing his approach, I think.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Robert. Always good to hear from you. First off, on the business decision comment, you could assume Devonte was included in the business decisions. You also know for a fact it was Jack Jones because he was benched the first quarter of the next game. Jack has not played well this year, and he's not tackling at all. And I'm really surprised by that because I like Jack Jones, who wouldn't. And last year we had to get rid of Marcus Peters because he wouldn't tackle. And what the hell's going on out here? We got guys get paid to tackle, and they don't want to tackle, or they're not tackling. Look at Robert Spillane. Robert Spillane, as of today, is a Pro Bowler. He's on pace to have the most tackles in the history of the Raiders for a regular season. He's on pace to do that. We saw Denzel Perryman do that a couple of years ago. So I love the way Spillane is playing. Max, who I've been communicating with, Max is fine. Max is coming back. Believe me, Max plays injured. So I don't know where Max is at. He's not going to tell me if he's 80% or 90% because I don't ask him. I just want to know if he's going to play, and Max plays pretty hard. But you can assume that Devonte Adams was part of the business decision. Here's the situation, how I see it when it comes to Devonte Adams. Devonte is going to go down in history. He doesn't have a Super Bowl yet. I don't think he's going to get a Super Bowl with the Jets. I think the Jets are a disaster mess, a pathetic franchise overall. Overall, the Jets fall into the category of being a pathetic franchise. They have. I'm not making it up. They've been terrible your whole life, other than Joe Namath if you're old enough. They're a dumpster fire, and now they let Aaron Rodgers have complete control of the team. Now, if they all end up winning a Super Bowl, it's one of the smartest decisions in NFL history to trade for Devonte Adams with the 2-4 football team and go on to win the AFC over Patrick Mahomes and win the Super Bowl over maybe a team like Detroit. If they do that, then we're going to have to live with that the rest of our lives. I can promise you that's not going to happen. So Devonte Adams left the Raider organization to go to the Jets organization. I think he should have went to Buffalo because Buffalo got Amari Cooper. And you can debate who's better, Devonte or Amari Cooper. I covered both of them. Amari had a great young career with the Raiders. But Buffalo was the opportunity because Buffalo clearly wanted a receiver. But why didn't they want Devonte? What was the offer that they put out for Tom Telesco? I don't know. Next time I interview Tom, which should hopefully be soon here, I'm going to ask him who came calling for Devonte Adams. So when we look at all of this along the way, you got to question yourself and say, what is going to happen? What is going to happen in the short term? Hey, Bobby, you can give Kevin Bollinger a quick call here. We can get him up here for a few minutes. He's available to come on. And, I look at Devonte going forward. If this turns out to be a disaster with the Jets, he's going to be a guy who left Green Bay to go to the Raiders, a team he supposedly, air quote, loved, to go to the Jets. And if the Jets don't make the playoffs this year, Devonte could have waited and played with the Raiders to the end of the year and decided where he wanted to play next year. And he could have picked some of the best teams in all of football because there was no way the Raiders were going to pick up Devontae's remaining contract after this year. There's no doubt about that. And Devonte would have had an opportunity to go play somewhere else. So I don't know. For me, it's a really big risk from Devonte. If I was Devonte Adams' agent, I would have really been interested in Buffalo. He played in the cold weather in Green Bay and was really good. And I think when you look at Devonte overall, I think going to Buffalo is a major step. Buffalo is a major step up compared to the Jets. Josh Allen's better than Aaron Rodgers. Sean McDermott's better than anybody on that Jets staff. And Buffalo's got a better offense and defense than the Jets. And it turned out they were in the market for a wide receiver. They were in a market for a wide receiver, and they didn't go get one. I'm fascinated by that. I'm fascinated by the fact that Amari Cooper ended up in Buffalo, and Devonte Adams could have been there. Are you telling me Devonte was only interested in playing with Aaron Rodgers and not Josh Allen? And I don't know. Maybe Buffalo looked at the Raiders and said, we want you to pay half the freight. We want you to pay for that. I don't know what's going to happen here. We're going to try to slot Kevin Bollinger in here in a little bit. When we come back, we'll get to Lee Sterling. And Lee Sterling will join us. He's going to pick 5 games for free. We're going to get, 3 games for free. He's had a really good track record with us this year. So we'll see what Lee has to say next. So get ready. If you're gambling, you need help. You don't need help because you're losing money. You need help because you don't have anybody giving you good picks. Listening to a bunch of clowns on Twitter that are like 30% right and don't even have a website. Lee Sterling's on deck. He's really good.
5.
All right. Be right back, everyone. I'll have a piece of that.
Yeah. There's a napkin in there too. There's ranch.
Good to see everybody back. All right, how's everyone doing here? Yeah, I like what he said there. You know, Raiders don't concede losses. Raiders don't tank. Any Raider fan who wants to lose games, you're garbage. You want to lose games, get the hell off my platforms. You know what I said? If you want to lose games on purpose, get the hell away from me. You hear that? Any Raider fan who wants to lose games on purpose means you want to lose before the game starts. Get the hell away from me. Okay.
To catch the games is at Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas, featuring the best pool in history, Stadium Swim. 3 levels, 6 pools, and a 143-foot diagonal screen. Whether it's Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, Stadium Swim is America's favorite place to watch football. Stadium Swim, located at Circa Resort and Casino and open 365 days a year. Book today at circalasvegas.com.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka. Visit titosvodka.com.
Myers, in his 10th year out of Marist, is set. Snap is good. Kick on its way, and it's blocked by the Giants. They got pressure up the middle, and they scoop it up. Running down the left side is Houston. He's to the 5, and he's in for the score and a touchdown. Bryce Ford Wheaton is the one that picked it up.
It jumped right over the center there and blocked it. That is such a great play.
Bryce Ford Wheaton off the bounce returns it for a score.
Giants Radio on the call. JT back with you at the Shriners Children's Open, brought to you by Raisin Cane's Chicken Fingers. They got a big Raisin Cane's billboard behind me, man. We really appreciate Raisin Cane's, not only a proud partner of this great golf event that raises money for the kids of Shriners, but also our radio show to be out here on the road. We greatly appreciate it, and we greatly appreciate Lee Sterling, who joins us as we get rolling, coming off last week. And Lee, we're dealing with Devonte Adams, who wanted to leave the Raiders to go to the Jets. Do you have a comment on that, considering the Jets are a 2-4 team and just lost to Buffalo?
When you see a guy move a couple times, usually not a good sign. Not good for the team down the road. So better to cut him loose and get some players that want to be there and start building again.
Nicely said. Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports. As we begin, let's go first game, Alabama, -2.5 against Tennessee. Tennessee played a close one there recently, and Alabama has been a team that could get out to a lead, then give up a lead. They've been playing a lot of roller coaster football. As a professional handicapper, I don't know how you pick this game, because a lot of both these teams lose momentum and gain it, or explosive at times and then get shut down. Very hard game to see. Who do you got?
Yeah, so there are two weaknesses going here, one for each team. Alabama's defense. I mean, last three games, they give up 25 to South Carolina and almost lost. Then they lose to Vanderbilt and give up 40 and 34 to Georgia, pretty much all in one half. So they've got some problems on defense. I don't know if you can all of a sudden fix it in the middle of the season. On the other side, Tennessee, all of a sudden, their star quarterback, the young hotshot Nicola Malava, he is all of a sudden can't pass down the field. I mean, they're 13 for 38 on throws, 10 or more yards downfield the last two games. I think the guy that might be able to fix his guy is Josh Heisen. The quarterback whisperer, playing at home. They won this game 52-49 2 years ago. Alabama staff never traveled to Knoxville yet. All of a sudden, Tennessee wide receiving corps had three guys that missed the last two games. Looks like we'll all play this week here. Wrong team favored. Tennessee outright, 26-24.
What a massive win that would be for the Volunteers if they can do this. Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports giving you Tennessee outright over Alabama. Minnesota, let's go to the NFL, -2.5. Well, you got it against Detroit. You know, as you know, we've said it every week. I picked Detroit to win the Super Bowl this year, but I'm not going to get a mulligan on Aiden Hutchinson. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl with Aiden Hutchinson not there. They're going to want to go out and get another defensive end. I understand that. They're not available at this point in the year. How will that affect them? Even though in the Hutchinson game where he got hurt, they won. What is that feeling going to be like back in their building now with a big game, knowing that they don't have their defensive superstar?
So they are going to have to get someone. That's just too big a void. I mean, here's a guy in 5 or 6 statistical categories leading the NFL. He is the best defender through the first third of the season right now that we've seen. And so they'll have to go out and do something. But for one game, teams can come together. Detroit has some good defensive line depth. Second or third game, maybe not, but they'll be ready for this game here. Minnesota, if you watch the second half of the Jets game in London, all of a sudden having trouble moving the ball. They might be without their star running back, Jones. Then on top of that, this Detroit team, I think, has too many weapons for Minnesota. So they've got two great receivers, and also we haven't even seen Brown get unleashed yet, and both running backs and their tight end, Laporta, top shelf here. Got a hot quarterback. I'm going to keep riding him. Detroit, one more week, 34-28.
One more week, and that would be Minnesota's first loss of the year. Lee Sterling is firing right now, giving you Tennessee over Alabama, and then obviously going with Detroit for another week here. All right, so the other game you're going to give us here, and we really appreciate it, is the Jets-Pittsburgh. I just saw Pittsburgh. They beat the Raiders. God, their offense is struggling. They're going to make a quarterback change here. And then the influx of Devonte Adams with Aaron Rodgers, you would think there'd be a little bit of a pop and give the Jets a lot of motivation. I just don't like Hackett as the play caller. Don't like the way the Jets are falling apart. Don't like the Jets kicking game. And I know Mike Tomlin and this Pittsburgh defense is going to be really dialed in for this one.
Yeah, their defense could be the difference here. They win close games under Mike Tomlin. 14-4 over the last one-score games. And even though you got Wilson, you got Hall, and now you got Adams, It's the guys, it's the quarterback. We all know Aaron Rodgers is pulling all the strings. So he's not the same. He looks the same in the uniform. Can't evade the rush. Can't come up with a big throw anymore. I just think that Pittsburgh at home finally is the right time and the right place to get on them. It wasn't 2 weeks ago against Dallas. I think Russell Wilson, people don't have the book out on him yet with this team. I think Pittsburgh gets it done here. Pittsburgh, how about the line change, JT? Originally, Pittsburgh was a 1.5 point favorite. With the trade, it moved to Jets -2. One receiver worth 3.5 points. Not in my book. Pittsburgh is 24.
Lee, before we get to your game of the week, Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. If the Jets lose that game and Devonte goes to 2-5, I mean, that is almost a dagger. I mean, it would need a miracle. Supposedly they have an 11% chance at 2-4 to make the playoffs. This would make it below 10%. So that pressure aspect of it, and normally you just made a great point. You don't see a line change. You do for a quarterback, but not for a position player, an aging wide receiver, even though he's a great player.
No, I mean, it's almost unprecedented. Is he going to be the next Brandon Marshall? I mean, who knows? But he's talented. For some reason, things didn't work out, but this might be his last stand. So we're going to see if these two guys can put it together. I think it's been so darn tough.
All right, then let's get to your game of the week here, which has a big feeling for us here in Las Vegas. You chose the Raiders and the Rams. Before you tell us how to get this game, because you don't mess around with your game of the week, how did you include the Raiders coming up? Was it because Tom Brady walked in our building and I sent you the video yesterday? Did that have something to do with this game?
It might have, and then also you got a Rams team welcoming back. It looks like Cooper Kupp. So you want to get this game, huge game for both teams. Be one of the first 5 callers. Call 800-400-9741 to get the Rams and the Raiders. How about this? Last week was 5 for 55 both days. It included a 40 to 50 unit max wager. What did we do? We delivered. We went 4-1 both days. How do you hop on board? We call it Locktober. 15 days of football. It's $197. We will have another 40 to 50 unit max wager release. Just one place. ParamountSports.com.
Thank you, Lee. All the best. Have a great week as always.
You too, buddy.
There he is, Lee Sterling from ParamountSports.com. Wow, his game of the week is the Raiders and the Rams, and he gave you a little Cooper Kupp. Go get that game for free at ParamountSports.com. He's one of our good friends. He's going to try to do you the right way when we get in here. So that's where we're at. We're live from the Shriners. I'm going to jump off YouTube here in a little bit here. I want to thank all the bricklayers, as they call themselves here on YouTube here. We don't do a lot of remotes, but we do like once a month. And when they asked me to come out here and do this one, I can't wait to get out here. I'm outside. I'm in this beautiful tent. We're right at the 18th green in the first tee box. The weather is absolutely perfect today. I'm assuming you can watch this on Golf Channel, which is right behind me, so you can watch it and see where we're at. And it's just really good. It's good to be out here and get some fresh air and do that here. What's great about living in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is not for everybody. We understand that. If you're a degenerate gambler, you don't want to live in Las Vegas. If you like extracurriculars and staying out and doing bad things, Las Vegas isn't for you. But if you want to live a beautiful life, you come to Las Vegas because our weather is absolutely ridiculous. It's 82 degrees. 82 degrees. Now, tomorrow, the low will be 51 and the high will be 69. Did I win the lottery, Mateo, for not being out here tomorrow? Did I win the lottery? Wow, it's going to be a little bit windy tomorrow. And then we're going to drop back into the low 80s. Hour number 2, we're going to have a couple of our Shriner ambassadors. These are the patients who were born with really complicated disabilities, and then money raised by Shriners helps them get the operations that they need, helps their families stay near the hospital. They do such an amazing job. We're going to talk to the tournament director coming up here in a little bit, Patrick Lindsay, and then we're going to have 2 of the ambassadors. Oh, before I forget, we got DeMarco Farvon. He's on the Rams broadcast team. He's going to join us in about 15 minutes. He's going to break down the Rams. I want to do some X's and O's this week. I feel like we're doing a lot of fluff this week. Doing a lot of drama of Devonte and Brady coming in, which we're all thrilled about in the organization. But we want to do some X's and O's and some football and hear from you if you think the Raiders are going to win this game. And the Raiders have to win this game. And I'm happy Lee Sterling, as he wrapped up his interview with me, said this is a big game for both teams. It is, because we're not even near Halloween yet. And both of these teams and fan bases, some of them are checked out. Some of them are like, if we lose this game, the Raiders lose, they go to 2-5. The Raiders win, they're at 3-4, with an opportunity in the next couple of days, games to maybe get some momentum going into the bye week, even though it's the Chiefs and Cincinnati. But for the Rams, if the Rams lose this game at home to the Raiders, they're done. That's the dagger. They're done for the year. And they're going to be in a position to get the number 1 pick overall. How about that? And Matthew Stafford's not going to be there forever. And their backup quarterbacks aren't good enough. Thanks again to the Shriners Children's Open. Hour number 2 coming up on Raider Nation Radio at 9:20 a.m. Jump on board. Got a big hour coming up next. Hey, thanks everybody. A little bit difficult doing it here. Couldn't really focus on you all today, but thank you. Appreciate you being here. Tomorrow we'll be back in studio, and we'll have a big show lined up for you tomorrow. So I appreciate you always joining us. Wow, spread the word, hit the like button, and please get some more people to subscribe. Appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Take care.